How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Today, I am joined by the driver of the Out of the Groove Chevrolet this weekend at Phoenix, Brennan POOLE. Brennan, it's been, it's been a little over 2 years actually since you were on the show. Way back when the pandemic was first beginning, you were probably doing a billion Zoom calls. You probably don't even remember it specifically, but I do. And I noticed you changed your hair color since then. I wasn't sure if I got the right guy on this call, but it's good to see you, man. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, I know. COVID was a crazy time, but we had a lot of fun. And I had a lot of fun talking to you that day a couple years ago. And yeah, here we are talking again. And you made an amazing car that I get to drive this coming weekend. So I'm super, super stoked. And it's crazy how things come back around, isn't it? A couple years later, here we are. We're going to race together. So pretty wild, but also very exciting too.
Oh, I'm super duper excited. It's awesome that we're getting to team up on this whole deal. You even mentioned to me, this is the first time you're getting a die cast made, which was shocking. Yeah. So like, how cool is that? I know for me, it's obviously amazing that so many people were able to pre-order it, that it's going to actually become a real thing. But like for you, how cool is that?
Well, it's when you're a kid, all of us played with the little race cars, and I mean that was like one of the first toys I think you ever get as a race car as a kid, right? So like for me, I've always dreamed of having my own car someday, and always racing. Growing up, I always had. I think I have almost every single Jeff Gordon car that was made in a diecast. So like for me, it was always a dream of mine to be able to have my own and maybe like put it into my collection and it actually be a car I actually raced in real life. And I've been able to do so many cool things in my career. And, from running in the Daytona 500, battling for championships in the Xfinity series. So like, I just, for whatever reason, I just never had a car that actually made it to production and got made. So, for me, it's like it's a little dream come true to actually have a car, and it's so wild. I think that's just like a shout out to the Groovy Gang, for everyone wanting the car you designed. But for me, it's also making a dream of mine come true. So I'm pretty stoked about it. My family's stoked about it. Some of the other people that have helped me in my career are really excited, that have always wanted one. I know some friends and family in Texas like also ordered a punch too. So for me, it's just it's a really, really special deal, and I'm like super excited to be able to like add a car that I actually drove to my own collection. Like it means everything. So it's super, super cool.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it may be exciting for you. It's exciting for me as well. I'm not a race car driver, but my YouTube channel began with me collecting and making videos using NASCAR diecast cars. So, like you said, one I designed, see it on the real racetrack. Like I've just seen the clips of them wrapping the car, the photos and stuff. When we get to Phoenix, I guess as the time people are seeing this, it'll be later this afternoon. I'm expecting a tear to go down my cheek, just a single happy tear. Well, Brennan, I want to talk to you a little bit. I've got some fun questions saved for the end, but I want to start by talking a little, just your season, what you've been up to racing lately. I want to start with, you've moved over to JD Motorsports now. You've made a few starts here towards the end of the season. So what brought you over to JD Motorsports and kind of back into the Xfinity series?
Honestly, they just, excuse me, but honestly, they just approached me, in Kansas, I think this year. And, wanted to sort of see, what I had going on the rest of this year. And, this year's been a pretty challenging one for me. I've been grateful for all these opportunities that Mike gave me, a great opportunity to drive for him and be back in the garage area and be able to, still show what I was capable of. And I really think it boils down to some of those qualifying efforts I had, which sort of opened the door for me to get some of the other opportunities. It helped me be able to drive the 46 truck this year with G2G. And, every single one of those opportunities I just kind of used as an audition. So every time I got in the car, I just drove the car as hard as I possibly could. After 2020, I broke my wrist in the off season and had surgery. I have a plate in my wrist now. Oh. And I've just, it was a fight. And I didn't really have much throughout 2021. I couldn't really drive. So I think I raced one truck race to just see if I could still, drive. I mean, I
physically, like, Yeah.
yeah, physically holding the wheel. And it was a challenge. I was still kind of doing physical therapy, and I didn't really have the strength in my wrist. And like I remember like in the race, I was really just like driving off of my right arm mostly. And this was just kind of on the wheel just for the ride. And but I did make it through the race, and I felt like it was something I would be able to do more of. At that time, I've been several years that I raced with the 30 truck and Bones and Stephen Lane and all those guys. And I'm still really close with them to this day. And I always really enjoyed racing for them. So we were trying to work it out so I could race more races with them. And originally the plan going in that year was to be there and race the 30 truck full time. And then, this situation happened.
Mm.
So I didn't get to run really at all. So, and then when the start of this year, I didn't have anything. And I wasn't sure if racing was still going to be in my future. So when Mike called me and I got the opportunity, and I decided to jump on it. And of course, the beginning of this year in February, my mother passed away very unexpectedly,
Mm.
which is part of the reason why I have the blonde hair.
Oh.
When I was a kid, my mom and we always bleached my hair over the summertime when I raced like for national championships and all that stuff in quarter midget racing. I think there's a picture of me right there, but it's kind of blurry. But so I did that, and I kind of had wanted to do it the last couple of years. And then when my mom passed away, it just was like for me, for my own self, I just felt like this is something to do to help me remember a time with my mom. So I did that, and I've enjoyed it. I've liked it, and that's why honestly I still have it. I was only going to do it for the summer, but I think I might keep it a little bit longer. But so I did that, and yeah, and all these opportunities have led to that moment in Kansas where Brian Barry, who is the general manager, just started talking to me about kind of what I had going on, and if anything, and what my future might look like. And at that particular moment, I don't know. It's just like kind of race to race, weekend to weekend. So we just started trying to see if maybe something would come together for us to maybe work together in the future. And there are a few races here at the end of the year that were unsponsored, and I had some support for some people that I met like through this year that had sponsored one race. And because Johnny was giving me this opportunity, they kind of jumped on to help a little bit for these 3 races. So shout out to Mac Door Systems for helping with this relationship. But yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't be in the car if Johnny and Brian and the guys at the team hadn't approached me that day in Kansas and tried to see kind of sort of what was up with me. So it's been good. I mean, Texas was so much fun for me.
Mm.
We had a really strong run, and we got caught up in that big crash on the backstretch, but we were running in 11th. I really think we had a really good shot at with some of the crashes that had happened previously and the way things were going, where I think we might could have snuck out of there with the top 10, but just wasn't meant to be. I had nowhere to go. And then of course, a couple weekends ago in Miami, we had another really, really good car, and we finished 14th. We had a little bit
Yeah.
of trouble on the green flag stop, but that's part of it. And so I'm happy with how things have gone, and I really just get along with everybody. It's been so fun, and it's been such a struggle for me the last 2 years that I remember just like being at the shop for the first time, and then like coming back home. I mean, and Lindsay, my girlfriend, will tell you, like I like got home and I actually just like got emotional because it means so much to me to be a part of the sport and to be able to race and do what I love to do. And the last 2 years have certainly been just like crazy difficult for me. But I didn't give up, and I just had faith and believed that God would open the right doors when the time was right. And so here I am, and I'm super excited to go to Phoenix. I'm a dream come true to get my own die cast car made because of you, Eric. Thank you, and the Groovy Gang. But so I just feel like the second half of the year has gone really well for me, and I'm really looking forward to this weekend, of course, and getting able to hang out with you, spend some more time with you. And Phoenix is like coming home for me a little bit. My
Yeah.
dad lives there, so I'm gonna be staying with him over the weekend, and I'm staying out longer after the race with him. So I'm gonna have a lot of family, friends, and my dad there this weekend at the race. So it's certainly going to be special one for me. It's going to be my first race back in Phoenix after losing my mom. So for me, it's a really big weekend for me in general, and
Yeah.
and having you on board, man, has made it even more special. And I can't thank all the Groovy Gang, everybody that's tweeted me and shared stuff and engaged with me and sent messages and all that stuff. It's been really cool. It's been a little overwhelming for me too. Like at times, like I said, I get emotional because this is what I love to do, and it means everything to me. So I'm super, super grateful and grateful to be here.
Yeah, it's a passionate group of race fans. I mean, speaking just from my own firsthand experience, the last week or so has been unreal. So I'm glad a lot of that is spreading over towards your end of social media as well, Brennan. But you kind of talked about it. I mean, you've had a very up and down couple of years in the racing world, and you did touch on it a little bit towards the end there. But I did want to ask, like, the weeks you haven't been behind the wheel of a race car, you haven't been racing NASCAR. Like, what have you been doing to either stay loose, stay fresh, or from a business standpoint, like how much work have you had to put in? You mentioned Mac door systems coming on board the second half of this year. Like, how much work and what work in particular have you
Yeah.
been doing? Can you do, when you're not driving a race car, or just to stay behind the wheel of one of these cars as much as possible?
Man, it's an incredible amount of work. I mean, when you have guys like Coach Gibbs, for example, literally sit down and say, like, listen, like, Kyle Busch, Eminem's not there. He doesn't drive. FedEx is not sponsoring Denny Hamlin. He doesn't drive. Like, it's part of the sport, and you have to
Yeah.
build relationships and find sponsorship. I mean, that's just that's just how it works, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me, it's been about trying to find those partners that believe in me to give me an opportunity to get back in a competitive car and get in a situation where I can get back to winning races. And for me, it's been a while since I've been in that position, but I think it's just about never giving up. If you give up, you're never gonna get there. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, I've just fought through those things, and I have friends that I've met over the years that help me with pitch decks and things like that, and I use all the tools that are available to create new connections and try to find those partners and find people that be interested in racing. I personally think racing is probably the best sport to be involved in, to market in. I think it's most really, it's expensive, but it's the most affordable compared to football and other sports for the
Mm-hmm.
eyeballs and what you get out of it. I don't think there's anything better. So, in my opinion, it's a good sell. So for me, it's just about creating those relationships. And as a driver, I feel like you have to build those connections with the companies in order to get them to support you. And so for me, that's been my goal. But I mean, I do a lot of stuff to stay focused. Like mentally, for me, what helps me the most is riding my bike. I do a lot of road biking and things like that. I mean, I have a group that I ride with. Sometimes I go by myself, but it's better when you have friends to ride with you.
Yeah.
But for me, it like just being by myself, being in nature, working out. It's quiet. I'm riding around. I'm in North Carolina where I live. There's a lot of farms and land and stuff like that. So you're riding through like cornfields and stuff like that. Super pretty, and it just like kind of gives you that. It's almost like therapy in a way. But for me, that helps me a lot. And then I mean, I race a ton. I just did the Groovy Hollow. We did all that stuff. That's so much fun, and I do that a lot with all my friends. I have like a group of guys on iRacing, and I race with them every week. And I did a bunch of Phoenix slaps literally yesterday, and made like long runs and raced around with big 5, 6, 7, 8 of us in a room, and we race. And I start in the back, and we race the crap out of each other, and we just have fun. And but it also helps me too mentally before I go into a race weekend. It kind of puts your head in the right place. And as much as great as close as you can get a simulator, it's still a little bit different than the real thing. But for me, like mentally, starting to put my mind like in that mode each week, it just helps you stay in the zone. But I mean, it's really tough when you drive a lot of different cars, and you're in one car and you're in another car and you're in a truck and then a different truck and then a different car. And it's hard. They all drive different. All the teams
Yeah.
have different philosophies on what makes speed. So it is a little bit of a challenge, and it kind of takes you a minute to like find exactly where that speed is. But I think that makes you a better driver. And for an example, I mean, look what Ross Chastain has done. Even this weekend, Ross Chastain has fought through all of those scenarios, all those different rides, all those different cars, And I believe personally, and he'd probably agree too, but that it made him much, much better. And when you get the opportunities in the good cars, it's like you got it, right? And
Yeah.
you're there much more competitive. So, and shout out to him on the crazy move this weekend. It was unbelievably brilliant, and I'm so happy that it worked. I was teammates with Justin Marks for a while,
Yeah.
so I'm so happy for Justin and
Cool.
for Ross to get in. But yeah, I mean, I think those experiences just make you a better race car driver.
Absolutely. I do want to get to those fun questions in a moment, but I first want to ask you about Phoenix specifically. You told me a little bit about iRacing, getting prepared, but you also told me before that you've sat in the car, you've talked to the team and
Yeah.
everything. So what do you think you've got this weekend? And I guess besides iRacing, what else can you do to prepare? You do get a full hour of practice this week. I looked at that
Yeah.
on the schedule. I was like, yeah, all right. But yeah, what are you looking forward to at Phoenix?
Well, definitely getting that hour of practice helps us, just and me and my team. This is the third race we've worked together. So it gives us a little bit more time to, dial the race car in for what we want. So I'm expecting to be able to start off in the race a little bit closer to where we want to be, than we do when we have 20 minutes. I mean, it's very difficult in 20 minutes to really even make, big changes or try anything. It's really
Yeah.
just like some wedge and some track bar, and maybe it is what it is, right? So you don't have a lot of time for anything like that. But so I'm looking forward to just getting that extra practice. I mean, I haven't had an hour practice session really since the beginning of 2020. So like,
Wow.
it'll be nice to just get that extra time on the track and with my guys to try to dial the car in. But for me, I think just going back over my notes, I mean, it's a little bit different. I really haven't been to Phoenix since 2020. I have experience with the PJ1 and all that stuff down and moving around the racetrack and stuff like that. But it's definitely going to be a little bit different for me and a little bit more of a learning curve than maybe some of the other guys that have raced there the last couple of years. So I'll have to figure some things out quick, but that's my job. So I'm looking forward to that. But I think with JD and our situation and it being the third race together, I think anytime we can run inside the top 20, that's a really good run for us. And it
Hmm.
just so happens the last couple of times that I've been able to drive the car, we've been a top 15 car. So hopefully, I always expect a lot, but I think together as a team, I think if we can run realistically inside the top 20, it's a really good day for us and in JD. But I expect, if we have no issues, no mistakes, we have a good handling race car. I expect to be able to run in the top 15. But that's, you never know till you get there and you drive the car
Hmm.
and you start working on what you actually have. And really, until you start the race, I mean, there's been many a times in my career and on all forms of racing where I'm like, oh, the car is really, really good and I don't run well. And then I've had times where I'm like, dude, we are terrible. The car is not doing what I want it to do. I can't find grip where I need it. We're making adjustments. The car's not really changing a whole lot in the areas I want it to change in. And then you run the race and we're the best car on the track and you win. Like, it's like, okay. So, I mean, to me, I go into it and just try to do the best job I can in each session, trying to anticipate what I'm going to need in the race. And we try to get it as close as we can. And then in the race, try to dial it in and it'll be what it's going to be. And I just drive it as hard as I possibly can. I think that's something in my career over the last couple of years that I've learned. Like when I get in the car, I just drive it as hard as I possibly can, pretty much the entire time, and just try to communicate what I need in the car. And it's paid off for me. And at least in a lot of these, other cars and stuff I've been driving over the past couple of years, it's helped me be able to get some really, really good results. So I'm looking forward to that. Phoenix is a really fun racetrack. I always had good success there in the Xfinity car. So I think it's just going to be, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But I have notes. I'll look over them. I'll get on iRacing. I'll mess around with some of my friends, try different stuff, run up high, do stuff. iRacing's been putting new stuff in the track to try to make like the PJ1 try to
Oh.
be like more close to what it's like. So we've been messing around with that and trying some stuff, but really just trying to get my mind ready to go for the weekend. And yeah, I got to see the beautiful race car. I sat in it the other day, got all my steering wheel ready, pedals, everything. I'm comfortable. So I'm really looking forward to it. We as a team think this is one of the best cars in the shop. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what we've got when we get there.
I'm trying to contain myself, but I'm super excited to get out there and see what happens. I've realistic expectations. I'm sure you're gonna make it look great out there. This can be a good time. Pivoting a little bit, I want to change the subject. I remember the first time you came on, well, even before that. We both grew up in the Houston area, from what I remember, and what I think is really, really cool about this whole partnership. There's not a lot of, I feel like Houston's not thought of as a racing capital of the world, so it's kind of cool that we've somehow been able to find each other and make this deal possible. But I remember you telling me about a lot of the different short tracks, dirt tracks around Texas you grew up racing on. So my first kind of fun question: what is your all-time favorite racetrack you've ever driven on? It could be current NASCAR, could be one of those older tracks. What do you say?
That's that's like a difficult question because I've raced at like I don't know what the exact number is, but it's like over 200 and something tracks. So it's a lot. You know, when I it's like I have favorites for like each series, but one of my favorite moments in my career and what I think is probably one of the craziest racetracks I've ever driven on is Salem in Indiana.
Okay.
That track is like it's a beast, and it was even crazier before they repaved turns 3 and 4. Like before they repaved it, man, it was rough. The car's hitting the ground. The car's moving around all over the place. You spin tires like halfway down the back. You're like half throttle down the backstretch and just spinning tires. The car it's wild, and that was back with the old ARCA bodies, and we had 850. We had a Joe Gibbs racing engine in the thing.
Wow.
It was a handful, but so much fun, and so I always loved going there, and just having to be smart and take care of tires and run the race, and it was similar to like what I grew up racing with late model stocks and stuff like that. But man, that track is a beast. So much fun. But like in NASCAR, obviously, like what do I think? Like most drivers would probably say Darlington, and like Darlington is probably by far my favorite track on the NASCAR schedule. And like statistically for me, it's also been like one of my best over the course of my career. I just love tracks that are like more worn out. Like as a
Mhm.
driver, you can make up more of a difference than you can when we go to a place that has a lot of grip or just been repaved, or you just can't I can't physically make the car go any faster. Like you're almost wide open all the way around as it is. So like you kind of got what you got. But at Darlington, you can move around. It's hard on tires. Maybe your car mechanically has a little bit more grip than some of the other guys. And as the run goes on, you can, as a driver, make things happen there that you normally can at some of the other places we go to. So I love that. So some of the other tracks like Homestead's wearing out, Kansas is wearing out. You see everyone moving
Yeah.
up towards the wall. There's a lot of these places that are starting to get worn out now. So for me, it's getting the tracks in the NASCAR level are getting like a lot more fun. Like we're entering into like the next couple of years. Some of these places, I think some races are going to get crazy and very fun to watch. But as long as it's worn out, it's fun for me. I think it's better for me.
Yeah, I just wish my home track, I guess our home track of Texas Motor Speedway, wasn't the monstrosity it is today. Because you grew up racing on like the dirt track and stuff up there, right? Or the
Yeah,
Legends
yeah.
track, right?
Yeah, there was a little 5th mile, although I think they're getting rid of it, I heard. But
Oh no.
yeah, the first car I ever drove that like you had to change gears was a legend car at the 5th mile
Hmm.
at Texas on the backstretch. So I raced there forever as, a 12-year-old, 13, 14, 15. I raced there all the time. And I raced dirt modifieds at the dirt track a lot. I ran they had like a big winter national dirt race there a couple years. I did that. And then I ran a bunch. I've ran the road course inside Texas,
Oh really?
yeah. And you know what's crazy is I've won at all of them. I've yet to win on the big track, but I will tell you the old track, the old surface, for whatever reason, I struggled on it in
Oh really?
Xfinity. And I don't know why. I just didn't, I struggled there. And then when they repaved it, I've run really good. I'm not going to tell you that I like it, but I mean, I've always had speed since they repaved it, and I've ran up front. I've ran well in the truck and the Xfinity car and in the Cup car for what I was doing. Like we ran really good at the Texas races. So
Wow.
for whatever that's worth, I don't know. Maybe because it's just home, like you get like that extra like
Get five
boost.
extra horsepower.
Yeah, you just find it in you and you go run better. But I don't know. But yeah, it was so much fun going back there because I have so many memories. As a
Mm,
kid, I mean, the first time I ever drove a car that shifted gears was at the backstretch at Texas Motor Speedway, which is a crazy thing to think about.
wow. Wow. Well, again, this may be kind of a more difficult question, but I wanted to ask you, what driver, past or present, would you most compare your driving style or demeanor to?
Oh, geez, man, that is like really difficult to that is really difficult to say.
You mentioned you had
Um,
all those Jeff Gordon diecasts. I'm not sure if that's
yeah.
like who you modeled yourself after or anything, but yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I try. I as a kid that I started. The first place I ever drove was at this little dirt track called Capitol in Sacramento.
Mhm.
Well, it's outside of Sacramento, and that's the same place that Jeff Gordon first drove. Same place, so we have that in common. And I started racing in Sacramento. That's where I was born. So like, here's this other Sacramento guy who's made it to NASCAR. Who's he's a California guy. I was kind of the same at the time. So I looked up to him and what he did. And my dad, and we read his books, read everything about it, all the stories of it, of him and Bigfoot and all the stuff they did. I mean, we tried to do it similar. We did some things on our own, that were a little bit different, but yeah, I mean, I always tried to model myself after him because he was so successful. And in the era that I grew up racing and trying to get there, he was the guy. He
Yeah.
was the guy. And so I tried to do all of those things and handle myself, on and off the track, similar to how he would. But I mean, if more of the fans kind of knew a little bit more of my upbringing, some of the stuff, I was probably a little bit more rough and moved people out of the way. And I've made last lap moves and done stuff to win races coming up through the ranks. So I think I probably drove a little bit more aggressively in certain moments than maybe Jeff would have. But I also, sometimes, if you are in a situation where you don't have the pace, but you got to win, you do what you do, and it's kind of part of it. So I've always been a little bit more on the aggressive side. But I mean, guys that have given me advice, over the years, I always really looked at Kevin Harvick when I was
Mm.
in my last 9 years racing. I've tried to be, probably more closer to him. I think he does a great job with how, he handles himself, off of the racetrack, in the race car, discussing things with NASCAR. Like he's, in my
Yeah.
opinion, has done a really good job at trying to take over some form of like a leadership role for everybody. So for me, I look at that, and I think that's he's a guy that I think you'd want to model yourself after now. I
Mhm.
think when I was younger, he was a little aggressive too, right? Which but I like that.
Yeah.
So for me, I look at that. But and guys like Brad Keselowski too. Brad Keselowski's been, good to me over the years and given me a lot of advice that I've listened to. Stuff he told me back in 2019 that really helped me continue to stay involved in the sport. Decisions that I needed to make. Then at that moment, he helped me make those decisions. So I appreciate the advice and stuff that he's given me. It's helped me still be here. So there's been a lot of guys that I've looked up to, that certainly all have different characteristics. And then I try to just, make stuff my own. I mean, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
all the drivers are a little different. We all do things different ways that are best for us. And we all have a little bit different personalities. I think maybe blonde hair Brennan is a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more, maybe, I don't want to say mean, but like just I have a different, things are, I have like a different, I don't know, a little bit more edgy,
Mm.
the last couple of years than I've been in years past, certainly than when I first came to the Xfinity series in 2015. So and then you just gain that through experience too, and understanding how things work, and not being like a young kid, having that experience. Like now I just drive a little bit differently. I think I'm probably the best I've been, in my career. I am right now. So I'm hoping, these opportunities and stuff lead to a full-time opportunity where I can, get back out there and do what I love to do, and continue to fight for, race wins, and get in a good situation like that again would be, the ultimate goal for me.
Absolutely. My final question, Brennan. I remember a couple years ago when you were on the show, you were at the time really hyped about having just competed in your first Daytona 500. So I want to ask, what other big races, NASCAR, or even just other races that maybe never likely attainable, which races would be on your bucket list to compete in or even possibly to win?
The first one that's not NASCAR related for me is the 24 hours of Daytona. I
Mm.
want to run in that real bad. I do it every year on iRacing with
Hmm.
all my friends. They've been doing it the last several years. I want to be a part of that event. It's historic. It's special. I love road course racing. Road courses have been really good to me at the NASCAR level. I would like to do it more so in a sports car and experience it and just see what it's like to be a part of a race that's 24 hours long. So for me, a
Mhm.
lot of the endurance races are big bucket list races for me that I want to experience one day. Even like the 12 hours of Sebring and things like that. I want to do. I'd love to do like the 24 hours of Spa. That would be crazy just to get to drive on that track. It's so cool. So any of those endurance races, I mean, who's not going to want to say like driving an F1 car at Monaco or something like that? Just even getting to
Yeah.
drive an F1 car would be just crazy, just to experience the technology and the grip. Like you hear guys talk about it, but I just, I would love to know what that's actually like, and then maybe help me appreciate more of what they do when I watch them on a weekend, because I'd have a much better understanding of what they're actually doing. As a race car driver, like when I watch the cup races and or even trucks, it's funny, when I get to watch and I'm not in the race, I know what those guys are going through. I know what it's like because I've driven the cars. So
Mhm.
when you have that understanding and you see somebody do something or how they're moving to set somebody up to pass or what, or restarts, like I know what they're doing. I know what it's like. And that creates a whole different dynamic for me watching the race. So I would love to have that experience to know like what those F1 guys are doing. Like, what is it really like? That would be wild. But yeah, I mean, I love road course racing. It would be so much fun to have those experiences, and I'm really going to try really hard to be a part of the 24 hours of Daytona at some point in my career before I'm done and retire and stop trying to race. That is one it's almost like that's like a lifelong like dream to like do that race. And when I was younger, I probably wouldn't have said that, but as I've gotten older, it's just man, it's like, man, it's such a cool race. I want to be a part of it.
Did you run, I guess in 2020 they ran the Daytona road course in Cup, right? So have you at least gotten to experience that layout in person?
Yeah, I mean, I experienced the layout other than
It's
the
not the
weird,
same. I know it's just
yeah, that
yeah.
weird chicane that they put in there. But yeah, I mean, that was also really, really cool too. Getting to run around, I mean,
It's
it's
not the same
iconic.
pageantry though as obviously the
No,
24-hour
I
race,
mean,
but
it's still, I mean,
it's a cup
anytime you get
race, yeah.
yeah, anytime you get to run a cup race, it's a privilege. Like any of those, all the guys that are getting to do it, that are there, it's still a privilege. And like running the Daytona 500, you can look up the exact number, but it's like a little bit over 2,000 people have ever driven in the Daytona 500. And
Hmm.
just to be able to be like, I'm one of those guys in the history of the sport.
Yeah.
I ran in the Daytona 500, and so for me, like those things are cool. Like as a kid, if you would have told me that I would have been able to do that, or that I'd run 16th in the Daytona 500, I'd probably be like, are you kidding me? Are you serious? So like for me, as a driver, you want more, right? Like I want to win
Hmm.
races. I want to be, I've won a lot of races. I mean, I've got trophies, championship trophy. I got stuff here. I've won a lot of stuff. So like for me, I want to be in that position. I want to get with a team that believes in me and it supports me, is behind me, so that I can go and do what I love to do and what I know how to do. So like, for me, you just want more. So sometimes I have to sit back and just like be grateful that God's blessed me with all these things that I've done that, young Brennan would have just thought was just not possible, right?
Yeah.
Coming from where I came from to be here now, I look back, I'm like, man, God, thank you. I've been so blessed to be able to have these opportunities that so many guys are fighting to have that will never get that opportunity for what a bunch of different circumstances. So for me, I just have to like take a take a breath and just be like, man, you race cup. Have a top 10 in a cup race. I finished ninth at Talladega. Like what I mean, you can't get angry at those things. It doesn't mean that I don't push and that I don't want more, but I have to be grateful for the things that I have done and been able to be a part of. So yeah, I mean, for me, if I could get to do 24 hours of Daytona, that would be crazy. But I'm so thankful and grateful for all the stuff that I've been able to do. And every time I get in a race car, I'm just thankful, and I know that like God's put me there, because I can't just like buy a ride or pay for a seat. I don't come from that. Everything that I've worked for since like after late models has been not me, not family. It's been other people helping me, sponsors, relationships, teams, that's the only way I've been able to get here. So I'm grateful for all those opportunities and everything I've had to do what I've done in my career. It's crazy, really, man. When I think it's like it's
Yeah.
wild.
No,
So
it's awesome. It's awesome to see what you've been able to accomplish so far. But like you said, grateful for what you've got, but always striving for something bigger and better.
yeah.
Well, Brennan, really appreciate you being on the show, taking some more time to share some of your story, what you've been up to the last couple of years, and excited to see what you can do this weekend with JD Motorsports and potentially even going forward in the NASCAR world. But thanks for being on. Looking forward to seeing you at the track here in a couple days.
Yeah, me too, man. Thanks. Always fun getting to talk with you, spend some time with you. And yeah, this weekend's going to be awesome. It's awesome you're going to be there. I've said hey to you a few times in person.
Yeah.
Everyone's busy at the track, but now it's like, this is like your weekend. It's my weekend. We're together. Like, let's go have some fun. And yeah, man, I'm looking forward to sharing the car with everybody. And man, it's just going to be, it's going to be so much fun.
It's going to be a blast. No, I can't wait. Good luck this weekend. I'll see you out there, man.
Yeah, thanks, man.